Israel and the U.S. dealt severe blows to Iran's nuclear program this year. But even so, Iranian officials aren't giving up. They're determined to rebuild their nuclear power.
Now concerns are growing in the Middle East that another war between Israel and Iran is inevitable. Julie Stahl reports from Jerusalem.
Iran publicly displayed its ballistic missiles and drones for the first time since the war with Israel in June. This, as a report in the New York Times says, it's only a matter of time until another Israel-Iran war, since it's unclear how badly the U.S. strike damaged Iran's nuclear program. Ali Vaez, Iran project director at the International Crisis Group, told the Times that Iranian officials say their missile factories are working 24 hours a day because they hope to fire 2,000 at once to overwhelm Israeli defenses, not 500 over 12 days as they did in June. He says both sides believe another confrontation is inevitable, so Iran is doubling down on preparedness to produce a new equilibrium that will wipe out the sense of Iranian weakness. In the meantime, experts say it's unclear whether or not Iran's highly enriched uranium stockpile made it through the war. Iran says it's buried under the rubble, but Israel believes Iran's stockpile, which is enough to make 11 nuclear weapons, has been whisked away for safekeeping. Meanwhile, as the U.S. and Israel work on plans for Phase 2 of the Israel-Hamas ceasefire, there's talk that Gaza might remain divided at the Yellow Line, with part controlled by Israel and another by Hamas. According to the Times of Israel, 6 European officials say the next phase of the plan seems to be on hold and that reconstruction will only take place in the Israeli-controlled area, which could lead to years of separation. And Hamas returned the body of another hostage overnight. The IDF says 73-year-old Meni Godard was murdered by Islamic Jihad on October 7th and abducted from his home in Kibbutz Be'eri into Gaza. 3 hostage bodies remain in Gaza. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says there is concern about violence in Judea and Samaria, also known as the West Bank, that could scuttle talks in Gaza.
But yes, look, certainly there's some concern about events in the West Bank spilling over and creating an effect that could undermine what we're doing in Gaza. We don't expect it to. We'll do everything we can to make sure it doesn't happen.
A handful of Israelis torched and defaced a mosque in a Palestinian village on Thursday and wrote graffiti messages on it. The move came a day after Israeli leaders condemned such violence.
Any incidents of lawlessness are dealt with to the full extent of the law. The IDF operates under strict ethical guidelines and international law in Judea and Samaria.
Government spokeswoman Shosh Bedrosian pointed out, on the other hand, Judea and Samaria are a hotbed for Palestinians planning and carrying out terror attacks.
9 major attacks took place in September, 8 in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria region, and one side, Israel. The security services were able to foil 105 major terror attacks. 9 people were killed and 24 injured in the September terror attacks.
The Israel Defense Forces also revealed they had dismantled a Hamas terrorist stronghold in the Bethlehem area. The IDF said they had apprehended more than 50 terrorists and said they had planned to carry out shooting attacks against security forces and Israeli civilians. So even though the Gaza ceasefire remains in effect, Israel is still dealing with potential terrorism in the West Bank and Gaza now, and the possibility of another major military conflict with Iran in the future. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, I hate to predict doom, but it looks like doom is in the future because we didn't finish the job. And whether you agree with that or you don't agree with that, the ideology that is within the Iranian government absolutely hates us and hates Israel. We're the great Satan. Israel is the little Satan. And as long as we think that somehow or other, if we contain them or we sanction them or we do these kinds of things, that somehow that ideology is going to change. Well, it hasn't. Even when the people have rebelled against it and said, we want freedom, we want a secular government. We're tired of being ruled by these religious fanatics that beat young women to death because they aren't wearing their scarf correctly. Even when they do that, what happens to them? Well, the leaders of that movement are taken into the public square and cranes are brought in and they're hung from the crane so everyone can see this is what happens when you rebel against us. We had an opportunity. Israel took the lead, and somehow we thought, okay, when we bomb a single mountain, that somehow everything's going to change. It didn't, and it's going to come back again and again and again. The reason? The ideology says you're not a good Muslim until you join with us and eliminate Israel off the map. You're not a good Muslim unless you're in the struggle against the United States. Death to America is on the flag of the Houthis. And somehow or other, we want to say that's not a terror group, that's not a threat, and we don't have to really pay attention to it. Well, we're going to wake up one day and saying, oh boy, I wish we'd paid attention to that, particularly if they get any kind of ballistic missile that can travel all the way to the United States. If they have nuclear weapons, absolutely they're going to use it in Tel Aviv. The next target, you and